I am pleased that Dragonair has seen fit to weave our threads of fate together once more. Last week was the start of the third season of Ascendance of a Bookworm, titled The Beginning of Winter. That episode was more of a recap of characters that we were more familiar with, but it's been a while since season 2 came out. So we first met up with Fran and Ferdinand in the temple. Brief reminder that she's going to have to stay in the temple for a dedication ceremony, some sort of mana contribution that she's going to have to do. And then we move on to her merchant side of life, and she's talking with Benno and Lutz. Of course, is going to involve books. She runs into Frida at the Merchant's Guild, sells a book to her, and then when they're leaving, they run into Johann, a man who had previously done some detailed work for Myne. He asks for her to become his patron, that is to say, to financially, or rather, to continue giving him work. That way, he has a secure line of income. Eventually, they agree because Myne wants to introduce into this world now metal letter presses, which would then allow for faster printing, because instead of cutting out stencils, these are like little metal stamps that you can rearrange, and once you ink them, you just put a whole page on it, and it's a lot more durable and a lot more efficient instead of cutting paper out to make the stencils for what they have, like what they have been doing. I believe that's mimeograph printing. So now they're trying to make preparations for letterpress printing. We run into Corinna again. That's Benno's sister. She is noticeably pregnant, I guess. And we are reminded again of Myne's family members. That is to say, Gunther, her father, Effa, her mother, and Tuli, her sister. While dealing with Benno and trying to get the books spread out in the world, the Ink Guild notices that, hey, someone's using ink, and they remember this strange girl that came in one day asking for ink, casually drops their production methods and alluded to other types of ink being made. The higher-ups, of course, smell money in the water, and they quickly want to track her down. They are trying to strong-arm and get extra information, or as much information as they can, from Benno in the discussions while they're licensing out, or I guess selling the production method for Myne's ink. But doesn't pan out. Benno was smarter and hid her upstairs so that they wouldn't be able to see her. All they saw was it went to go get signed by someone and the contract disappeared. So she is safe on that point. But they do know it was a kid related to the to Benno's company, the Gilberta company. Eventually, when Lutz was in an alleyway, some mysterious character, probably tied to the Ink Guild, accosted him. Benno at that point says it's probably best for Myne to start going to the temple right away, because once she's in there, it's not going to be easy for commoners to have any sort of access to her. So that's where we ended the episode. I think Myne was going into the temple and now having to adjust to living in the temple over the winter, which leads now into episode 28, that is to say, episode 2 of season 3, titled The Story About Winter Stays and the Future. Let's take a look. Ah, yes, she cried herself to sleep that night, and she was homesick. First day. Today's wine of choice is a sweet white wine, honey and orange blossom, or I guess honey and Apfelspig would probably be the closest correlation in this universe. The story about winter stays and the future. Morning starts early for them.
官長に報告したところ、情報が集まるまで部屋から出てはならないとのことです。
ってことは、図書室にも行けない？本があれば耐えられると思ったのに。しょんぼりへにょんだよ。マイン様、時間があるなら私に計算を教えてくださいませ。ええ、もちろんです。こうすればね、簡単でしょ？はい、マイン様は教えるのが意外とお上手ですわね。門でも教えていましたし、私、神殿教室の先生ができるかしら。字の読み書きができるように教育する場です。
マイン様、教えるのは灰色進化にさせてください。
マイン様がそのようなことをしてはなりません。はい。
You're a rich noble. You shouldn't be doing great priest duties. Not exactly noble-like.
もう帰りたいよ。まだ一晩しか経ってないぞ。家族と一緒じゃなきゃ寂しいよ。私、寂しくて死ぬかもしれない。マインが言うとシャレにならねえよ。もう、抱きつくなら金持ちの貴族にしなさい。それから冬の手仕事について話し合った。冬は紙作りができないので、板でリバーシとトランプ、チェスを作ることにした。よし、じゃあまず型紙を作るか。俺も所持版持ってればルッツに負けねえのに。春になったら準備してあげるよ。字も計算もできるようになったからね。いいのか？やった！これで俺もルッツやフランと同じだ。同じ？
Writing tablet. I guess that's... Okay, I guess. I mean, most people aren't aware of what a diptych would be, but... Yeah. I guess writing tablet was okay.
出ないと俺も困る。どうして困るの？春になったら隣町の植物誌の工房に見回りに行くことになった。
Papyrus workshop? Bother. Papyrus, no. It should be paper making. Paper is different.
またな。
Forgot what episode she tried making papyrus, but yeah, papyrus is... You're weaving fibers together instead of gluing them together.
ルッツみたいに甘やかしてやるよ。
ルッツとあなたも同じでもいいの。
分かった。
マイン様、事情が事情ですので、心細いのは理解できます。ですから、ルッツやご家族がいらっしゃった折、部屋の中で甘える分には目こぼしをさせていただきます。けれど、そば使いとはふさわしい距離を保っていただきたく存じます。
Once again, reminding people they have to know their place in this world.
赤ちゃんに戻ったみたいだよ。だって寂しいんだもん。母さんも来られないし。でもこうしてれば寂しくないよ。じゃあ母さんの代わりにお話ししてあげるよ。じゃあまたね。またすぐ来てね、ルーリー。待って。
I'd imagine that was multiple days in, so...
マイン様、新官長からことづてがあります。儀式の衣装の納品をカルステット様がいらっしゃる日にしてほしいとのことです。
I know the end of the season's gonna wreck me, but... Can't be pulling my heartstrings this early. It's not fair. Eating by yourself in an empty room.
マイン、マイン、マイン、マイン、マイン、マイン、マイン、マイン。
She had just learned to value her family. Now she misses them so much.
寂 寒さが増すにつれ、私のホームシックはひどくなっていった。
Ugh.
痛かったです。
新艦長と高級貴族に話をするんだぞ。考えただけでも頭が痛い。旦那様、前髪が乱れます。
もしかして緊張してるんですか？
よく集まってくれた。まずは儀式用の衣装を収めてもらおう。こちらがマイン様の儀式用衣装となります。ご苦労であった。
Ah, it's Daniel.
貴公さん、ダメです。うるさい。下級貴族が指図するな。
どうして？
カルステッド、ダームエル、そなたらの罪もひとまず終了だ。
盗聴防止の魔術具だ。
エイシャポット。ではベンノ、そなたに聞きたいことがある。何なりと。インク協会の会長はドルフで間違いないか？はい。インク協会と契約魔術を交わした直後からマインのことについて探られ始め、ルッツがその標的となったと聞いたが、これも間違いないか？ございません。マインはそのものと面識があるのか？
いいえ、顔も名前も存じません。契約時に顔を合わせないようにベンノ様にかくまわれておりましたので。
英断だったな。契約を先に済ませてから露骨な情報収集を行ったのは、契約後ならば関係が悪化してもよいとボルフが考えたからではないのか？良くない噂の多い人物と聞いていましたが。良くない噂とは？貴族の方々に便宜を図ってもらうためなら犯罪にも手を染めると。
犯罪？
真偽のほどは分かりませんが、ボルフはマインの情報を得てどうするつもりだと思う？マイン様たち
Mets.
は次々と作り出される商品とそれを生み出す知識です。知識。
そりゃ信じられないよね。
ただマイン様の場合、監禁は誘拐より難易度が高くなりますから。確かに。
Very fragile goose that lays golden eggs.
情報を得る前に死ぬな。ならばある程度の知識を得たところで貴族に売り飛ばすこともありえそうですな。
売り飛ばす？
あるいは見食いの従属契約。さもありな。ベンノは引き続き商売関係からの情報収集およびマインの存在を隠し続けるように。承知しました。領主から指揮講座に下された判決は死刑。指揮講座は騎士団の任務中に殉職したことになった。
なった。
Ah, he learned his place.
ダームエルは君の衣装にかかる費用を負担した。
それでさっきベンノさんに支払いを。
ダームエルは見習いの身に降格処分となった。今後1年間君の護衛をしてもらう。君の身は本当に危険なのだ。上級貴族の間では見込み習いに利用価値があるという認識が広がっている。あの魔力量だからな。青の衣を与えたのが領主と分かれば、領主に取り入れたい貴族は見込み習いに近づくだろう。例えばそなたをわざとさらわせ、その後救い出して恩を着せるとか。領主に敵対する勢力であれば、君をさらって敵対する領地の者に売りつけたり、実は自分の子供だったと言い出す可能性もある。その場合、君の家族は邪魔だ。おそらく口を封じられるであろう。それと指揮講座の母親は政変を機に指揮講座が家に戻ってきたこともとても喜んでいたそうです。今回のことで見込み習いに強い恨みを抱いていると聞きました。
Came home after the purge.
一族を道連れにしても
Huh.
恨みを晴らし なるべく早いうちに貴族の養女になるべきだ。
幼女？
マイン、私の養女となるか。
無理です。
無理とはどういうことだ、マイン。
Uh-oh.
うちに帰りたいんです。家族と離れるのはもう嫌。
マイン、落ち着きなさい。影響を最小限に抑えるため工房にこもる。
Different from the light novel, but
いくら奉納式の直前とはいえ、魔力を溜め込みすぎだ、このバカ者。
すみません。
家族が会いに来てもここまで不安定とは。何かあったのか。
新館長が悪いんです。私の記憶をほじくるから。もう会えない家族のことを考えたら、今の家族とは絶対に離れたくないって思って。それなのに。
マイン、抑えなさい。
貴族の養女になったらずっと家族に会えなくなっちゃう。
マイン、このようにすれば少しは落ち着くのであろう。そのまま聞きなさい。君の魔力は強大すぎる。そうだ、マイン、自覚しなさい。大きく感情を揺らすだけで周囲を危険に巻き込むのだと。感情抑制もできない君は大事な家族を危険にさらすこともあり得る。
家族がいれば平気です。だから家族と引き離さないでください。
10歳だ。貴族院の入学は10歳だ。それまでは家族に甘えると良い。ただし、それ以降は君の意見など聞かぬ。
to be an actual noble, you have to graduate from that academy, so he's definitely trying to push her into. Oh.
覚えておきなさい。
Ooh. It ends there. So Ferdinand wants Myne to go into this noble academy. He said when she's 10, she has to go in. Otherwise, she's a threat simply because of how much mana she has, so comply or else. I guess that's the way it goes. Which, if you're a noble in a high position, I guess that's what you're used to. The dedication ceremony and spring arrives. Oh good, they have this in here.
私が負けた。ノイしてんだ。次は。
Oh, she finally learned it from Benno and Frida. Oh, that's beautiful art. Let's see, spring and summer. Oh, so this episode, whew, a lot to unpack. Let's see. Things I want to note down. She has a lonely start as, I guess, a rich girl who has everything taken care of for her. She's a apprentice blue priestess, which typically has noble blood, so they're served and waited on hand and foot by the gray robe priests and priestesses. Gray robe apprentices? Forgot what the term was. So right at the start, she woke up, she started doing stuff, but Delia told her, no, you have to wait until we get you. So it's a lot of wake up, do nothing, wait until everything's been laid out for you. Her life is considerably different now. She's used to constantly being in the same bed with her entire family. being super close with her sister and with Lutz. But now that she's in the temple, she has to maintain a certain distance, and Fran ends up having to remind her and Gil that there are lines that they can't cross. They are of distinct classes. They have to be master and servant or some sort of analog to that. They have to keep their distance, which is completely against what we're all used to, completely against what Myne's used to. One in her family here and one in her memories in Japan. So it's hard getting used to that, and she has to deal with the fact that now she's just kind of alone for quite a while. I don't think she was ready for that, especially as she mentions later on, her memories were picked through by Ferdinand, so she's all the more aware of what all she lost when she died, because she didn't have as good a relationship as she later realized that she wanted with her mother. In the flashbacks, it showed that she was kind of rude to her, and in that moment when she was seeing her memories again, she wanted to apologize right away. She didn't quite get that, it's just in her memories, but she values now her family more. That was, I think, the last episode of last season where she thanks her mother for all the food that she's making, and she just thanks the family for being there for her. So she really values them right now. Now she's been separated. She's stuck in the temple for the winter. Let's see, after that, Benno comes by with her new ceremonial robes that she had remade. Karstead and Damiel were there as well. Karstead was there to talk a bit about Wolf. They said his name was the master of the Ink Guild. So they're trying to figure out more, and as long as Myne's hiding in the temple, it seems like he's not going to be able to reach her. Differences from the light novel, they were just curious about, well, they're asking more about what Myne was doing, and they wanted to not be surprised. Benno, having foreseen this, brought examples. I think it was Benno, or maybe it was Myne, that brought examples of what she was planning to make for their winter handiwork, which were the playing cards in the reverse set, and the chibi animation at the end mentions briefly her playing against Ferdinand. A brand new player to Reversi, or Othello, I think is another name for the game. She destroys him. If you look at the board, it's mostly her colors, so going all out against a new player isn't exactly kind, but Ferdinand isn't exactly kind either, so I'm willing to forgive it for now. He suggests that she get adopted by Karstead, that she should in fact do it right away to protect her, because if Wolf, other commoners are trying to take advantage of her knowledge, or perhaps lesser nobles might try and take advantage of her for her mana after the massive display she had on healing the Tromba at the end of last season, then she's considered a valuable target. She has a source of money to commoners, and she has a source of mana to nobles. There was a purge of some kind, so I'm guessing there's fewer nobles now. They brought those that had been in the temple. Oh, that must be it. So Shikikoza must have been in the temple and was brought back after the purge. Okay. So yeah, they're trying to refill their numbers, and mana is something that's very important. Ferdinand mentioned the ones in the temple are the ones given up by their families, so they probably didn't have as much mana. And now that Myne has shown she has a lot, he mentions multiple times that she's given blue robes because of how much she has, or rather that the Lord has given them to her. So she's got a massive target on her right now, and that's why he's saying you should be adopted right away, and that's why he's suggesting Karstead, I guess, a friend of his, probably also a high-ranking noble. I wouldn't imagine Ferdinand would to just say Damuel adopt her, because Damuel is probably the lowest class noble possible if Shikikoza was above him and able to boss him around. So the suggestion of this, though, doesn't exactly go well for Myne's state of mind. She's already been some amount of time without her family. She's not keen on the idea because now, just being separated for a couple of months is now you're just going to lose them. Her mana starts to go out of control or on a rampage, I think is some of the translations. Her eyes go rainbow color. You can see the mana just oozing out of her. So, wasn't in a stable state of mind. I preferred the way they had it in the light novel. It's a bit more dramatic in the scene, but you get the general idea. She's losing control. Ferdinand then puts some sort of, what is it called? A face stone? Yeah, I think it's a face stone. A stone that can hold mana. It's not as bright when he first has it, but then it absorbs that extra mana that Myne has out. They briefly gloss over it that she has too much from being cooped up in her room and not moving around. In the light novels, it mentions she isn't even going out to donate mana at the beginning of the first episode. You saw she was dumping mana into a round shield, I guess. So she's just been building up over this time period and she's had nowhere to dump it. And as she grows up, as she gets older and older, she develops or has the ability to store more mana or something like that. So it's becoming more and more of a problem. So she has to be able to continually discharge mana, which that was unfortunate, but that was taken care of with that face stone. But still, the concept of leaving her family behind has her emotionally distraught. He tries hugging her, and she has this cute little scene where she's like, no, you're not quite doing it right. She's getting closer to Ferdinand, and I guess making a new sort of friend in him. At first, she wasn't exactly trusting him, but she's liking him more and more in terms of his ability to do things that are good for her. We'll see how things pan out in the future. Damuel is also now serving as her guard knight. That is his his extra punishment. He's been demoted to an apprentice knight and is now going to guard her over some period of time. I forgot how long, but that's what that plan is. The next episode is titled The Dedication Ceremony and Spring Arrives. So I guess that's going to be the two halves of the episode, the dedication ceremony and spring arrives. It's going to be interesting seeing that we're going to learn what this ceremony actually is. Should prove enlightening on the world that exists. Let's see, is there anything else I forgot? Oh, Delia's comment. Delia's comment was kind of out of hand. It's like, no, you shouldn't be jumping into Lusa's hand. You should be jumping into some rich noble's arms, which that's a thing that the Grey Priestesses are encouraged to do. That's what her goal was, I believe, to be a concubine for the High Bishop. It's disgusting, but things were weird in the past, and that's what they're trying to base this story off of, so I guess that's what it is. With that being said, this week's chapter released from J novel wasn't as exciting of a chapter as last week's. It's still setting up for some major events. It didn't feel like too much had changed from the web novel. Not too much was lost in the Google Chrome translation. I'm still excited though. I'm really happy with how the second episode looked. I guess we'll just see how the rest of the season goes. I've been the Obsessed Observer. Thanks. See you next week, hopefully.